Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Africa24 English. Energy remains central to Africa's industrialization and trade agenda. Speaking at the Africa24 Fairway and investiture ceremony in Cairo, Egypt, Mr. Ayuk, Executive Chairman of the African Energy Chamber, highlighted the need for strategic investments and policy alignment to unlock Africa's vast energy potential. Mr. Ayuk, welcome to Africa24.
Thank you for having me, Sarah.
With Dr. George Elombi as the new president of Africa24, what role do you see the bank playing in financing Africa's energy transition and industrial growth?
I think you heard it very well from Dr. Elombi's speech today, and I think he was spot on. Spot on in a sense where he talked about beneficiation of African minerals and domesticating African energy. For far too long, Africans have seen energy go all out, while Africans are left without energy. I think I've always been a champion of saying 600 million Africans have no access to electricity, 900 no access to clean cooking technologies. That is Africa's priority at this time. We need to deal with that. So I think we were so excited that this new Africa24 president and chairman is saying, let us grow Africa's energy future. Let us build upon what we've seen in the past, but let's also process the minerals in Africa, create jobs, create opportunities, expand possibilities here in Africa instead of losing our young people abroad. And I think that very clear vision comes with him talking about financing the future. Today you saw Dan Cody discuss the possibility of doubling that Dan Cody refinery to something even bigger. This is an African entrepreneur doing that. I think working hand in hand with Dr. Elombi, we're going to see some really big things come together for our continent.
Energy access remains a major challenge for African economies. What practical steps are needed to ensure that Africa's energy wealth translates into jobs, industries, and inclusive development?
What we do is that we deal with our infrastructure deficit. Right now, we need to invest almost $17 billion in fixing our refineries, just like the one in Cameroon or Nigeria or even Angola. We fix our refineries. What happens there? We create more opportunities by fixing those refineries. We stop importing expensive products from abroad. We're using homegrown production to drive up that up. But we'll also do the infrastructure. We build more pipelines across Africa, so we're able to send gas into African homes and across Africa. When you do that, what happens? Small industries, the cost of them getting energy and electricity goes down. Industries, they have more money to invest and build more infrastructure and build more businesses. What happens? They hire more people. When they hire more people, more families have opportunities. When more families have opportunities, you get to create a lot of multiplier jobs, hotels, restaurants existing in cities. Then you get government getting big, massive revenue from taxes. When they get big, massive revenue from taxes, we spend it transparently. What happens? We didn't see a lot more coming into our economies in the sense of jobs and dealing with our infrastructure deficit we have in Africa, roads, bridges, and that is what prepares us to a just transition. Africans being happy with energy, and also Africans seeing the energy industry as really, really driving that. And I think having Africa24 today with a really smart Cameroonian at the top, we think that we stand to build a pathway towards having an African energy dominance and build our own energy security.
Talking about partnership, how can Africa24 and the African Energy Chamber collaborate to attract more private investment into Africa's renewable and gas sectors?
I'll tell you a secret. We already have a collaboration since 2022. You know, in 2022, during the Africa Energy Week, Africa24 came right on board under its previous president, President Benedict Arama. We signed a big memorandum of understanding. We started working together. The next year, we got big and really promoted. One of our key initiatives was the African Energy Bank. We got Apple to work with Africa24 to really drive that idea. So we're going to have an African Energy Bank. So that collaboration between the African Energy Chamber and Africa24, it stays together, full and strong. But you know what's even important? We get into Africa's private sector that they've always been left on the side when it comes to financing, not knowing how to drive short-term projects, small projects. Africa24 has become a tremendous partner in bringing those entrepreneurs and giving them a big chance. So we are going to continue driving that collaboration because it's in our best interest. You know, Africa and African Energy Chamber, we like peanut butter and jelly. We get along very well.
In your view, how can Africa balance the global pressure for cleaner energy with its right to use its natural resources for economic transformation?
I think the bar has been set. It's been set so high. He's been around for almost 30 years. He understands the institution. They've built strong processes, institutions, and systems that work. I think he will have to perfect it. But also, I also see somebody who has a very strong vision to really look at inward, Africa first, and Africa's growth, because when you do that, it benefits Africa while bringing in our international partners that are also partners with the bank to really see that they drive our own governance, deal with our above ground rates, helping African private sector to really use the $2.3 trillion in private capital that we can really do that. Dr. Lumbi is going to have a huge task on his hand, which I think he's more than capable. He's a lawyer, so he's a really smart guy. He's more than capable to do that, but he has a strong institution with partners around him that's going to do that. But here's even what is more clear. If you listen very carefully at his vision today, when he talked about we're breaking down the barriers, because when you break down trade barriers, you break down visa barriers, these little things create an opportunity where every African child can go right on and face the world straight on and get that ingenuity. We've seen innovation across Africa, beyond energy. I love energy a lot, but beyond energy, look at what is happening in M-Pesa. Look at the telecom revolution. Look at the social revolution among our young people with social media and everything, and that kind of innovation. So you have a leader that is going to have a very transformative impact across our continent, but he can only be successful if everyday Africans, our politicians, our business sector, policymakers really band together and give him that push so he can drive this institution to be a driver for African growth.
Mr. Nje Ayuk, you are the Executive Chairman of the African Energy Chamber. Thank you for answering Africa's 24 questions. And to our viewers, thank you for following this program. Stay connected to Africa24 for the best African news in streaming and replay on our website, Africa24tv.com, on Play Store, on the My Africa24 app, and on all our social media channels.